All right, Mr. Hunt, welcome to ABC Interview. Thank you for being here tonight.
Yeah, no worries. I love doing these. You know that.
So this is your post budget reply interview. I've some very important questions for you. I want you to answer.
Yep.
Um, let's start off with I think your favorite one of your favorite topics, which is payroll taxes. Um, you want to eliminate all payroll taxes. I understand there was a bill that went through. There was a bill that. What happened to that bill to get rid of payroll taxes? I can't remember.
So yeah, with the removal of Payroll Tax Act 2021, what actually happened was that the APP were full support of it. In the House of Representatives, it passed through the House of Representatives without a hiccup, and then in the Senate they flip flopped on policy and decided to block it.
All right. Well, in their budget, they have a policy of reducing payroll taxes to
Yeah, it's not enough.
2%. But I mean, considering that the budget does need repair, wouldn't you be supportive that they uh, don't put it down too much?
No, payroll tax is a disgusting tax that punishes employment. We need people back in jobs. We need more taxpayers. We need more wages. We need more cash flow going through the economy, particularly after the empty housing tax introduction, where the APP single-handedly dealt a big blow to the economy, as shown by yourself with the statistics.
Personalities have accused you of having policies too similar to the APP.
That's
Um,
rubbish. That is complete and utter
all
rubbish.
right, hang on. But let me explain. Mainly, you have a very similar plan to manage the debt, which is basically spending or tax
The
cuts.
APP don't have a plan to solve the debt. We do. They
Well,
don't.
no, I believe that the APP's plan is that if they give out stimulus and they bring out tax cuts, um, the economy will grow, and when the economy grows, that will bring in more revenue, and it will make up for the revenue lost through the tax cuts or through the subsidies. Um, I believe that you have a similar point of view. Can you reassure voters that you actually hold a key difference on economic policy to the APP?
Well, first thing we got to do is get rid of that stupid empty homes tax and restore business and consumer confidence back to
You're not
the
answering the question.
no, I haven't finished yet. Back to the pre housing crash level, and then people can spend their money again. And with the tax cuts under a Liberal national government, they have more money to spend, which means more cash flow, which means
Okay.
more jobs, which means more
But
taxpayers,
you're
which
not
means more
answering the
tax paying.
question. You're not answering the
Because
question,
nothing, no,
Mr.
no,
Hunt.
no, no, no. We don't have any plan to do any extra spending. We actually need to cut some spending. We need to do reforms in certain sectors to get this debt down.
All right. So
That's the
basically,
difference.
you think that the government is spending too much.
Yeah.
Yes, and you would advocate more for tax cuts as a way to stimulate the economy rather
That's right.
than
Look at
spending.
their business incentives. Like the best way to stimulate businesses is tax cuts, not inefficient handouts to businesses. It is very inefficient for the government to do that.
All right. Okay. On the empty homes tax, we have a new report today that housing prices have actually increased again by another 5%. Could it be that it was only the scare campaign which caused the recent dip in housing prices and not inherently the tax itself?
No, it's the tax itself because the tax itself caused the speculation uh, to be non-existent, and due to the tax, business and consumer confidence went through the floor. Hence, there's less investment, which means there's less GDP, and that's why GDP has gone from 3.5% to from last year's growth, 0.4% in this year's growth. All because of one tax, the empty homes
But
tax.
but I mean the
There's
tax.
two things that investors and consumers hate. One is uncertainty, and two is instability.
But look, the tax isn't very high.
No, yes, it's not now. It's not very high. But what about the effect on it? The effect on that market. Look what happened.
Well, I
Consumer
mean
and business
the
confidence
government
went through the floor.
the government is arguing that's your fault because you launched a scare campaign against the empty
No,
homes
it's not their
tax.
fault. It's the market's reaction to it, and I'm 110% behind that reaction because why would you want to invest in a house when you don't know if it's going to be empty or not?
But
And
okay, but
there's punishment for that uncertainty.
you would agree that it was all based on speculation, not based on the actual tax itself.
No, it is based on the actual tax itself because people don't want to pay extra taxes, and that's why they don't want to invest because they don't know if their home's going to be empty for more than 90 days or not.
Well, at the moment, it's going back up, the price of homes. So it could it be that people have, I mean, the scare is over and people have realizing it's not that much money, and
Well,
they're investing
we'll
in
just
housing
have to
again.
see what the business and consumer confidence graphs do.
All right, okay. So you talk about subsidies as being an inefficient means to grow the economy. How would you grow the economy? Would it be just cutting taxes? Well, you kind of already answered that question. Um,
Yeah,
isn't
well,
it?
tax
Yeah.
cuts, but also using current government funding in money-making projects.
Okay, so on that note, isn't it helpful to help business startups like the APP is doing with its grants? And why do you have why are you against, if you are, a policy that gives money to small business to grow their business?
Because it's inefficient and it artificially screws around with the market. And we on this side of the house believe in a free market where the government should not have its nose into the market, and where the competitive nature of the market should keep prices down.
Right. Okay. So you're against giving grants to small business or to startups.
Yes, tax cuts are better because they know how to spend the money. With
Okay, but
grants,
hang
you have
on,
to
hang
go
on.
through the
If
approval
it's a
process, you have to fill out paperwork, which
Mr.
costs even
Hunt,
more
Mr. Hunt,
time and wages for that company to do. So the best and efficient way to do it is tax cuts,
but
not
Mr.
not
Hunt, if you're
handouts.
a startup business, you don't pay any tax yet. You're just trying to get started. So why isn't this a good way to fuel innovation to give money to startups?
As I said, you need to incentivize innovation take up, and the best way to do that is tax cuts because that means there's more money in your hands, more money for that innovation to occur.
All right. Well, I think we've got an answer there. The government has seemed to be very weak on helping the impoverished and the unemployed, and I'd say it's probably possibly one of the biggest weakness of the APP P's budget. You've danced around welfare policy before. Can you state what your welfare policy is, and if you believe that other new
Yeah,
startups and
they
others?
increased job seeker by 2%, but however, there's going to be a year limit on job seeker, so you can only be on job seeker for a year. This should be an efficient amount of time for that person to find employment. A year is a very long
Hang
time,
on, hang on, hang on.
and they
So
should
sorry,
have
you want to increase job seeker by how much? Sorry,
2%.
2%. 2%. Honestly, you think that's a
Yeah,
large
because
amount?
that's the current rate of inflation. It's just above the current rate of inflation. It's correct.
Well, that's how I mean, new starts already been increasing by.
Well, Newstart hasn't increased for a long time.
Well, okay, well it has well sorry, it used to be increased by that much and it wasn't enough. Um, well, many experts believe it wasn't enough. So you don't have any more plans to raise it any higher than the inflation rate does.
No, why do we need to increase more than inflation? The point of welfare is to have a safety net in case of time of uncertainty. And once that uncertainty is over, they can then go back to the job. That's why a year should be a sufficient time manner for the person to find employment and sort themselves
Well, I
out.
mean that's
The government shouldn't
basically
do
your.
everything for every citizen, Alba. I hate that. I don't want government to be everywhere. People should have the right to to have their to have their choices and inflict on those have consequences of those decisions. They need to learn that government can't do everything. I don't want the government to do anything.
All right. Well, you're not really much more sympathetic than the APP, it seems, but we'll move on. Um, Given the threat of climate change, isn't an investment into energy sources that can reduce emissions a good thing, even if you would personally prefer nuclear power? This is
Solar panels
referencing.
don't do it.
Sorry.
Solar panels don't decrease carbon emissions. We've seen that around the world. We've seen that in Japan, Germany, the US, certain states in the US. We've seen that in all over Europe as well. The only way to get emissions down reliably and cheaply is nuclear
But
energy.
you do
The
agree that
APP
there's
are playing petty politics on this.
you do agree there's a place for solar energy, do not, or do you
Yes,
just
that is correct, but on small scale, like rooftop homes, for example. But that's
okay?
it. We don't
Well,
need these large scale, inefficient
but
solar programs.
isn't it good that we have any investment in renewable energy? Um,
Well, we don't need $500 million worth of it. To God no. The government in the mid, the government just in the early 2010s invested a lot of money into rooftop solar.
okay, I see. Um, Given privatisation of Medicare is a very unpopular idea in Australian politics, how do you sell to people your Singapore model of healthcare?
Because it's not like America. We have been influenced by the we've been influenced by the media portraying America as the bad place of healthcare when it's in reality it is. But the word privatisation has a taboo sort of stigma around it, and they instantly think of America. No, we want them to instantly think of Singapore, and that's why I'm here to try and sell it to the Australian people, because it's a much more efficient and cost-effective system than the one that is in America.
So just for the viewers
And here.
viewers at home, and I want to understand too, is it basically like superannuation where your employer
No,
pays
it's not employee income.
Sorry?
It's your income.
Your income.
It's the
So
worker.
it's not like
Not-
superannuation where it's on top. It's just a fraction
No,
of
it's
your
not the
income.
employer. It's the employee.
The employee. So
Yes.
a fraction of your income is set aside, and it can only be used on healthcare costs. And if you have a problem, a healthcare problem, and you can afford to pay, you will pay. Is that correct?
That is correct. And to compensate for this, there'll be income and business taxes, as I said in my budget reply speech.
I mean, well, okay, okay, but how will you fund it then if there's going to be income taxes?
There's more money in the people's hands, and that money is being transferred into healthcare saving accounts, and then those people spend that money on healthcare only expenses, which will save the consumer, believe it or not, and the government money. As I said in my budget reply speech, Medicare funding will be saved by at least 25 billion per year. And 25 million is a very conservative estimate. It could be a lot higher.
All right. I'll be very interested in hearing a bit more about that another time. I'm pretty sure everyone will be interested about exactly how that plan would work. But before we finish, I just want to ask is there anything more you want to say to the APP on the actually, I mean, I'll ask you about the Senate elections coming up. How do you feel about them? Do you think that you could get more than the 2 seats you got last
Well,
time?
I believe so, yes, with the economic disaster that the APP have committed. I think that the Australian people are slowly waking up to this incompetent, untrustworthy, lacking transparent APP government, right? And that they should vote one Liberal, because we will restore that. We will restore that. We will get the trustworthiness back. We will get transparency where it's needed. We will restore confidence in business and consumers alike, as I said in my budget last week.
All right. Thank you very much for joining me, Mr. Hunt, and
Nice.
have a good rest of your night.
You too. Thank you.